Do not adjust your television. What you are about to experience is stranger than fiction.
Hey there, strangers. It's Devin along with
Heidi.
We are the duo behind Channeling Spirits. If you're familiar with our YouTube channel, we also do a podcast, this podcast called
Stranger Than Fiction.
And it is about exploring all sorts of spooky things. So this is our season. We love Halloween.
Yes.
And so naturally, there was one movie we had to cover, which was
Halloween.
Yeah. Not a great movie title, but I guess, like, no one had named a movie Halloween, so, 1978, they're like, let's just call it Halloween. Makes sense. I mean, they don't have a movie called Christmas.
They will now.
Actually, I might be wrong.
After
I've never double-checked that.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be like, you know what? We need to name the next one Christmas, and it's also going to be a horror movie.
I know there's Black Christmas, which this was
Black
partly...
Christmas, I sacrificed you.
Oh... So there's a couple reasons we wanted to do Halloween, the original 1978. One, it's almost Halloween.
Yes.
And you have seen how many of the Halloween series? How many?
2.
You've seen 2 of them?
Not including the one we just watched.
Wait, so which ones have you seen? You've seen Halloween 2018.
Yes.
And?
I think I saw the one before that.
Like
Maybe.
Rob Zombie?
No.
Okay, so point being is that Heidi has not seen almost any, including the original.
Classic Halloween movies, I have not really seen too much of.
Yeah.
Only more modern stuff.
So I haven't seen this one in several years, and we'll get into that in a little bit. We thought this would be a good time to cover since Halloween Kills is just around the corner. We have not seen that. If you have, great. I've heard interesting reviews.
I've heard that it killed
badly. So we're not going to talk too much about that, but we thought it'd be fun to discuss the original. We might talk a little bit about 2018 since we both saw that in theaters.
Together.
And I think, yes, together.
Oh my God.
I think, there's some interesting points to be had there. All right, so we do want to talk about Halloween, but I want to talk about...
Wait, like the movie or my favorite holiday?
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't have facts that this events or person or creature inspired this movie, but I think there's some...
based on a true story.
Yeah, but I think there's some interesting correlation between a creature or a man called the Bunny Man and Michael Myers.
Like where this is going.
Well, you're going to learn about the Bunny Man eventually.
I just picture an evil Easter bunny.
You're not far off.
Oh, I don't like this.
Well,
okay.
We'll get there.
Ooh.
So without further ado, let's get into
Heidi's dissection.
Ah!
No, that's fine.
I know. I just... keeping it full surprise.
All right. So Halloween.
All right, so Halloween. So it takes place in the 60s. I believe it was 1963 is where it starts.
Oh, I was like,
yeah,
no, the movie.
When
yeah. I'm with you.
And it takes place in a town in Illinois that apparently is not real.
Haddonfield.
Okay. You start off with these creeper shots into a house that kind of looks like a stalker's POV because he's like creeping in the window and he's watching this girl and this boy start making out and getting all handsy, and then you just hear like breathing. It's really weird. And then you see them go upstairs and you see the bedroom light turn on, and then this person goes in like the back door. That's why you don't leave your doors unlocked, people.
And this is all one like seamless, beautiful shot.
Yeah.
Which in the 60s or 70s was not something that was easily done.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful.
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful.
And so apparently the girl and the boy went upstairs to do it, which lasted like 10 seconds.
Not only that, though, like
because he's like putting his clothes back on as he's coming down the stairs.
Well,
like,
I was gonna say it's all really quick because they're like on the couch. You like see him like look, and they're like going upstairs, and the light's like on very quickly.
Yeah.
I was like, they were dashing upstairs because he was
they
ready to go on the couch,
ready.
And then all of a sudden, like they got under the sheets, and he was like, "Done.
I'm done.
Trick or treat."
Like, oh. Oh.
Oh, no treat, just a trick.
And so he leaves, the boy, or the man, teenager, leaves, and the stalker, or POV, we don't really know if it's a man, a boy, a woman, a tarantula, I don't know.
Shape.
A shape. Oh, I don't know why I said tarantula. I meant to say
very-
chimpanzee, and tarantula is what came out.
I think tarantula's way better. If you just imagine it with a human hand and the knife.
So anyway, the shape, goes upstairs, and you see this girl, tits out, spoilers, and she's brushing her hair. Also, I don't remember the last time I brushed my hair with my tits out, so I'm just saying that's not a common thing that girls do. If you're a girl and you do that, I'm happy
I
for
don't
you.
usually brush my hair, but if I did, I don't think I would have my shirt off.
No, your tits aren't out?
No.
And so
I have double problem. I have neither hair to brush nor tits to have out.
she turns and she's like, Michael! Like, oh my god, I'm naked. Like, yeah, what? Duh.
Which
And
is
so-
not like an honest reaction that, and spoilers, it's a sibling.
Yeah.
But it's like, she does not act like
No, she
a
literally
nosy
goes,
sibling.
Michael! And like covers her boobs.
Yeah. It's not like a get out. Like, what are you doing
Yeah,
here?
like,
Instead, it's like, oh no.
Yeah. And then she gets stabbed to death.
With like cranberry sauce.
Cranberry
It's
sauce.
not very realistic.
It's
blood.
a knife from the kitchen.
But the knife is also super like chromy and looks like it's made of plastic too.
Listen.
It's wonderfully
okay.
fake.
Listen.
So anyway,
And so, then the kid, he goes outside the house, so you see it's a little boy that stabbed her to death. Michael Myers, the little boy's name, and the parents get home, and he's just standing out there with a clown mask on, with the bloody knife, and the parents come up to him and they're like, Michael, what the f***? They don't say that, but
I don't know if they say it happened in the prologue that it happened on Halloween, but it's
yeah, they
clear-
do. They
okay.
do. Yeah, it's Halloween night. Yeah.
But yeah, he's dressed up as a clown. You see him in the POV where he picks up his little clown mask and
Yeah.
he goes upstairs, and then like they finally get out of the POV shot. Parents come home. Michael's taking off the mask and he's just got this knife, and the
Yeah.
parents are just like,
What? Not even. They're just like,
What are
"What's
you
going
doing, buddy?
on?"
Why do you have a
Yeah.
plastic knife with cranberry
They're
sauce?
like not like
no
urgent.
one's running upstairs
No,
to see like
check
yeah,
who's
like
stabbed.
yeah.
Yeah, they're just like, Michael.
What you doing, bud?
And he's just got this like blank stare, like no emotions,
Yeah.
not shock, just evil. And so, fast forward, he has been put in a sanitarium. So he's been put in a sanitarium. It's 15 years now in the future. And Dr. Loomis and a nurse are driving in a car.
She's just smoking it up.
Yeah.
Like way to be
nurses
70s.
I mean,
Just
yeah.
token it, or not token it. That's later.
That's someone else. And so they're driving up, and he's like, I don't remember why he's there to see Michael.
I believe he's being transferred to a prison.
Oh, right. He's being transferred to another facility.
Then why are we taking him up to Hardin County if you're just going to lock
Because that is the law.
Due to
And-
like a court mandate,
And this
something
is,
to that
it's
extent.
October 30th when this happens, I
Yes.
believe. So not quite Halloween. And he comes up to him, he drives up.
And he's like cautioning the nurse, like nobody understands. Like
Yeah,
he's been
like-
studying Michael for 15 years.
Yeah,
Nobody
like,
understands how
He's
dangerous.
crazy, man. Like,
Which-
he's like, he doesn't have eyes. They're just black and evil.
By the way, I had a doctor that's been with me for 15 years and he's completely given up and just straight up been like, you're evil. I don't think he should have a medical degree.
passion's overwhelming, doctor.
Yes,
Or-
in the end, Dr. Loomis is
Or-
correct. But if your medical diagnosis is, let's give up on him, he's just evil, I'd be like, maybe you shouldn't be with patients.
Listen, you're not a psychiatrist. So...
No, I'm not. I also don't carry a gun around when I'm looking for my patient.
Yeah, a psychiatrist with a gun. Not a good plan. And so anyway, he drives up on the hospital, and all these patients are just out in the dark, like walking around, and it's raining, and they're like, what the hell?
And I don't think, do they ever explain that? Like, all of a sudden, they just drive up, there's just people outside.
It's the nighttime stroll.
Yeah.
For the crazies.
Rainy day, rainy night, pre-Halloween stroll.
Yeah. And so he gets out of the car and he's like, stay in the car. Like, let me find out what the heck's going on. And of course, Michael is one of the people who's gotten out, and he attacks the nurse, not necessarily to kill her. He just more wants the car.
Yeah.
Which she's in. So he tries to like get her out of the car.
It's really weird given his ambiguous nature of like...
Just kill.
Yeah, like you think like a lot of... I don't really understand his motives. I know that
she wasn't a babysitter.
The
so...
actor wasn't really given a motive, and Michael's not supposed to have a motive, but from a standpoint of like, he isn't just a monster, so you kind of want like a human understanding, and maybe I'm grasping at straws, but I do find it weird that he didn't kill the nurse.
I think it's because she wasn't a babysitter.
I guess, but again, anyway.
Anyway.
I will say that I clearly misremember this, because when you, like, they're driving up and you're like, is that Michael? I'm like, no, because I remember a bus and I remember it differently. And I think I'm remembering like maybe the Rob Zombie one. Yeah. Just like there.
Yes. So he steals their car and drives back to his home of Haddonfield, Illinois. And
again, we don't know his motive. He's just like, I gotta get home to my deserted house.
On Halloween. So he gets home and he's like, okay, well, I need a disguise. So he kills this mechanic on the way back to Haddonfield and takes his coveralls, that overall look.
Yeah.
Or no, not overall. Sorry. I went from his hick Michael. Like a jumpsuit.
Yeah.
And then he needs a mask. And so he goes into a store and picks up a mask because it's Halloween, right? And
and they mentioned that I think because the sheriff is like investigating like a hardware store.
Yeah, it's been like broken into.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where he gets the nice mask, expressionless mask, which is perfect because he's expressionless. And so it's Halloween now, right? And he's just driving around town like you do.
Which, to me, is
in a stolen vehicle.
And again, I'm not an expert. I have not seen every Halloween movie, but I feel like most of them involve Michael like walking slowly, like chasing the victims on foot, not just like driving around town in the middle of the day,
just
like
choosing.
Michael Myers in my
He's just
car.
sightseeing, okay? He hasn't seen his town for 50
Yeah.
years, so he's getting his bearings.
But I just really enjoy that idea. Like, could you imagine you're just driving Haddonfield, Illinois? You look over and there's a man with a like creepy mask on, just like, hey neighbor.
You've given me ideas.
It's true. I'm sure there has been many people that have done that, but imagine just doing that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Let's put a pin in that. Okay. So he's just driving around and he sees a high school girl, Laurie Strode. So she's dropping off a key at his abandoned house. And
Because
so her father is a real estate agent and he's going to sell the house. And so she's walking with this little boy and he's like, you can't go up there. And she's like, watch me, bitch.
You're not supposed to go up there. Just watch.
And
I don't think she said that to the boy.
She definitely did. And she puts the key under the mat, which upsets Michael. I don't know, like gets his attention. He's like, that's my house, and she went there, so murder. And like, it's just weird.
Is he already in the house at this point? Is he looking?
Yeah, he's in the house.
Yeah, he's looking.
So he sees her like come up to the door and put the mat in, and he's just like there staring at her, but he can't see because there's a screen. It's brilliant. So throughout the day, Laurie starts to notice that Michael is stalking her, just randomly appearing. She's like in class and she looks out the window and she sees him staring back.
And obviously
she
doesn't.
And she thinks she's daydreaming.
Yeah,
because she's like in class and then she like looks back at the board and then she looks back and he's not there. She's okay.
I think Tommy refers to him as like a boogeyman haunts the Myers home. She doesn't know it's necessarily Michael Myers. And we as the audience do, of course, but it's just this boogeyman shape. Yeah, it's just this. And they don't really, I guess if it was made today, they would probably play maybe a little bit more with the, wait, is he real or not?
Mm-hmm.
But we know obviously he's real, and there's a wonderful mystical nature of like, yeah, they'll do like shot looking out at laundry in the yard. We look back at Laurie, we look down, and he's gone. So
yes, it's really great. Anyway, so back at the school, so she's walking, now school's over, and she's walking home with her two friends, Annie, who
Which one was Annie?
Annoying. She's the one with the short brown hair.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Linda, the blonde.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna ask you which one's which, because in
That's
my
fine.
head, like, they're I'm not gonna say they're indistinguishable, but
Yeah.
they're both awful, written to be awful, or
Yeah, they're like really rude friends.
yeah,
They're like, "Oh, I'm babysitting tonight."
and then do a lot of
And they're
choices.
like, "I guess we can hang out, but I hate you." Essentially, I'd be like, "Fuck you guys, we're out."
Just watch.
But then do a lot of choices where we were both like, "What? You can't do that."
Yeah.
And then I don't know if it's written so then like you're okay with.
Well, Annie is the sheriff's daughter,
So she
okay?
just gets away with
and
well,
she's
not murder.
literally smoking a blunt in a car. So she's driving, and they're like both getting high, and she's like, "Oh shit, it's my dad!" And so she's like, "Put it out!" Like he wouldn't smell the weed,
Which you can tell neither of them have smoked
and
a
they're
joint.
just like, "Hey, daddy."
Yeah, like the window would roll down. We were talking like there might have been maybe a little smoke
There
coming
would have
out.
been a smoke cloud.
There would have
and
been
it would
a
have been
smell.
very distinctual smell.
Sheriff Daddy would have been like, "What you doing there, Annie?"
Yeah.
All right, I got it.
Good job, proud of you.
Woo.
So anyway, Michael is also driving around town again, and he sees the three girls walking, and he's like slowly creeping up and stalking them.
At this point, has Dr. Loomis gotten with the sheriff and like looking for his car
Yeah.
and Myers?
Yeah, I think
and he's
so.
like insisting. He's like, Michael's definitely going to come back here.
Yes.
And when they go to Sheriff Daddy, who I like calling him that.
Sheriff Daddy.
Daddy. Hey,
What-
Daddy.
Morning, Daddy.
Hey, Dad. Throwback to Supernatural.
Yeah. That's where we get the information that the hardware had been broken into.
Yes.
I think like some rope, some knives.
Yeah,
the
just
mask.
rope, knives, and a mask.
Well, now all they took was some Halloween mask, rope, and a couple of knives.
We're all.
So they're like,
yeah.
"Oh, clearly it's Halloween because reasons."
Yeah, like that's the things that, might be stolen for Halloween for just some trick or treating. Which he doesn't use the rope, which I'm a little disappointed. Oh,
Does he?
Does he with the boyfriend? He just stabs and somehow
Spoiler, we're not there yet.
boyfriend dies. To a movie that's very old.
So, yeah. Now it's nighttime, right? So they're gonna go all babysit. The girls are all gonna babysit, and so
Are they all going to? Because Annie is with Lindsay.
So it's actually just Lori and Annie that are gonna go babysit. Linda is like, "I'm gonna F my boy, and we'll all hang out and maybe have a threesome." I don't know. I was getting threesome vibes from her.
I don't remember that,
So
but I'm not going to discount it.
Lori is babysitting a little boy named Tommy who gets bullied at school. It's
I
really
like
sad.
Tommy.
I know. And these boys are like,
He's
the
like-
boogeyman's gonna come get you and kill you. If that
And he's reading comics, and he's got a little like spaceman,
he's got
like
a pumpkin, he's so excited to carve
yeah,
pumpkins.
he's like, can we carve a jack-o'-lantern? And Laura's really good with him, and
She's
I'm like,
yeah, let's do it.
I was invested with him.
I
I couldn't
know.
really give a crap about the little
Lindsay?
girl Lindsay.
Yeah, Lindsay is the other girl's name who is very glued to the TV, and Annie does not care about her at all.
Who's-
Annie's babysitting her.
Who's the girl in Willy Wonka that like chews the gum?
Oh
Is
my
it-
god, it's Veronica Salt.
It's that
Veruca. No, No.
Anyway, she reminds me of that character.
it's Violet.
Is it
Violet, you're
Violet?
turning
Oh.
Violet.
But just like I could see like that character just like chewing gum,
Mm-hmm.
watching TV, like not caring that the phone's ringing.
Try more gum.
Try more gum.
Anyway, so Annie's babysitting Lindsay and Lori is babysitting Tommy, and the houses happen to be right across the street from each other. So Annie's brilliant plan is that this is where it gets weird, right? So Annie's like, "Oh, Linda and her boyfriend, I don't remember his name.
I think it was Paul.
Paul. Yeah, Paul. So Linda and Paul are going to come over, and I'm going to hang out with them, and I'm going to make you watch Lindsay. So she brings Lindsay.
So maybe there was a little menage a trois.
Yeah,
like
literally. I
'cause
told you.
Linda doesn't have a boyfriend that. No, she does. I don't
No,
remember.
Linda's with Paul, and Annie doesn't have a boyfriend. Annie, no, there's a boy. So I think,
yeah.
I think Annie was gonna have another boy come over.
Yeah,
Maybe,
this-
or maybe they were gonna have a threesome. I was getting threesome vibes.
I just remember they all are awful.
Yes.
And like it's written a little heavy-handed where it's like clearly like Laura's the only one that like doesn't have a boy but isn't boy crazy, like is a good person because she's taking care of Tommy, is
And
a
now
responsible like even like she's given a joint, like she doesn't really know how to smoke it because she's innocent, and I'm like, oh okay, I get it.
again, Lindsay, the little kid, is just dropped off at Tommy's across the street, and Lori's stuck now watching these two kids, and they're watching The Thing on television.
The original, not the John Carpenter remake. That would come later.
Oh. And so Michael then shows up. He's spying on Annie, and he kills the dog.
The German Shepherd is like being annoying.
Yeah.
Not annoying, but it's
it's doing its
it's
job.
doing its job.
So Annie spills, this is before Lindsay gets dropped off, but Annie spills like coffee on her blouse, or butter. It was butter she spilled, and she's like, oh my God.
Was it really butter?
Yeah, and she's
like,
I have
popcorn
to get,
butter.
Yeah, and she's like, I have to get naked.
Yeah, it's
and
very...
like wear a random shirt. Where are the parents, like, of these children? Because they're clearly going to be gone all night. Like, what?
You and I had...
party.
Yeah, we had some headcanon. We're like, there must be like a Haddonfield key party where all the parents, like Halloween night, they're like, listen, get a babysitter. We're going to have a great time.
Oh my God. And so, so the puppy dies, which was really sad.
70s were all about killing the dog. Jaws did it. This did it. Just, you got to have the murderer kill a dog so you really don't like them.
So that's how you know they're evil. So Tommy, the little boy, is looking out the window, and he sees Michael Myers, and he's like, OMG, it's the boogeyman, like, he's coming to get me, like those boys said. And Laurie's like, no, like, and so, of course, when Laurie looks, he's not there. And so Annie has a boyfriend named Paul, who we never get to see. Linda is with Bob. How could we forget? Bob with the glasses.
No, I thought Paul had the glasses.
No, Paul, we never see Paul. Paul doesn't show up.
Okay.
So anyway...
All of these characters I don't care about. I'm going to be totally honest with you, and I don't think anybody here cares. Can we just fast forward to their dead?
Yes. So Annie gets in the car.
Their machinations of their stupid birthday nonsense is dumb. It doesn't make sense. It's irresponsible. The fact that the parents are like, yeah, we're just going to be gone the whole night. You can bring these children across the street, bang in our bed. Who cares?
So Annie goes to pick up her boyfriend, Paul, so they can have a foursome. I'm remembering now. And that's when Michael is in the car and he strangles her.
No, when does the stupid girl with the butter go out to the dryer, which is in an outhouse for some reason?
That was what I just said.
Well, you didn't talk about that. I just wanted to talk about the fact
he
that
strangles her and he slits her throat.
Built a house and was like, oh, we forgot to put in the dryer. Let's just build a shack out there that's 20 feet from the house.
I don't know, maybe that was a thing.
You have to walk out in your robe and undies to do your laundry because there's a murderer out there. Also, the doors are really crappy. You're probably going to get locked in and have to try and go out a window, then shout for a little girl whose boyfriend is calling you. Kill her.
So Annie's dead in the car now, and she dies
Good.
with this really like weird expression, like her
Terrible
eyes are
acting.
crossed. It was awful. And so then Linda, the blonde, and her boyfriend Bob, with the glasses, they show up at the house where Annie was because that's where they were gonna bang. And they're like, oh, she's not here right now. She's probably next door. So let's just bang. And so they literally go upstairs into like
somebody's bedroom.
Bed,
yeah,
and they have sex. Like,
what was their plan?
Because
they smoke
cigarettes.
Like they're having cigarettes post-coitus. Like, were you gonna try and like redo the sheets?
Like, also,
were you gonna wash them? Were you gonna wash them in the outside drying room?
Yeah. So Bob goes downstairs to get a beer, and Michael shows up, and he stabs him into a wall.
Which. One of my favorite moments though was the Michael Myers.
Oh, when he like cocks his head, looking at, he's like, "Oh, I did that."
I will say,
Reminded me of a dog. You know when a dog's like curious.
Yeah, but I love that not once does the shape Michael Myers, whatever you want to call him,
make a noise,
say anything.
Nope.
Not as a child. He doesn't even like groan when stabbed or shot, to my knowledge. Mm-mm. And then you have this great moment. It's probably the only time where you even get Michael reacting.
Like a hint of character.
Yeah, like that there is something going on other than that's a thing that I can kill.
Yeah.
And then he just has this moment where he's just like cocks his head. He's like, oh, that's really nice. It's defying physics. There's no way a knife would support a 200-pound
I know,
boy.
He would slice right through it.
But that's okay. Like, I love that moment where he's like, huh, that was a good kill. Good job, me.
So my favorite part is next. So Linda's in the bed, right?
Which,
And
okay, so then clearly he's admiring his work, must have taken the glasses off this body,
Yeah.
rummaged around the house for a sheet,
Yes.
and then decided, he's got a mask on and a sheet on, then he puts glasses on somehow and manages to navigate up to the bedroom.
I love it. So he shows up as a sheet ghost.
It's great.
It's so great. And he's just staring at the door. And then Linda is like, haha, like, you're so funny. And then, like, nothing happens. He's just, like, standing there. And she's like, well, fine.
She's like, where's my beer?
Yeah, she's like, ugh, you're so obnoxious. And so she calls Lori. And she's like, hey, like, where is Annie at? And Michael then, like, charges at her, essentially, and strangles her with a phone cord.
Yeah.
So Lori is listening on the other end, and she thinks it's a joke.
And I think at this point, you and I had the epiphany that Michael Myers is probably a virgin.
Oh, he has to be. Who's he gonna bang in the insane asylum?
Because we were like joking that like, oh, maybe he's gonna go in there and like try and do some hanky panky with this girl, and we were like, wait, Michael's like a 23-year-old virgin.
No hate to 23-year-old
I
virgins
mean,
out there.
no disrespect, but also you're not gonna get any partner by stabbing them. Just important safety tip.
All right. Yeah. So he wouldn't be interested in sex.
No,
Michael has no
yes,
emotion.
I understand that.
Oh, okay. So, like I said, Lori thinks it's a joke, and she's suspicious of the phone call, right? And so she decides to. She puts the two kids to bed together.
Yeah,
a boy and a girl, like 8 years old together, which is like obviously like
it's weird to us as adults, but clearly, like from a child's standpoint,
it's so innocent.
Yeah.
But
it is like, I feel like even any adult or teenager today would not put two children.
Unless they were siblings.
I still think that's weird, but anyway.
So she gets suspicious, right? And she's like, I'm going to go across the street to the house where everyone's banging and find out like what the hell's going on. And so she goes across the street and she starts finding her friends' bodies.
Yeah, like she goes upstairs and like one's in like the closet and they're just kind of like popping out, and just like we forgot to mention that somehow he went to the cemetery.
Oh yeah, he went to
in
the
the
cemetery
middle of the
to
day,
his
driving
sister's
around
grave that he murdered.
Dr. Loomis's car, picked up the tombstone, walked out of the cemetery with nobody noticing while he's wearing this mask on, put it in Loomis's car.
This is before security cameras.
Also driving around all of Haddonfield with this tombstone in the back. Then
it's in the driver's seat with a seatbelt.
Then after he's killed these teens, set them up meticulously for the next person to come in, went downstairs, grabbed the tombstone, and put it in the bed. Because he's an artist, okay?
Yeah.
After that, I guarantee you he did his head cock to admire his work.
So she finds Annie first in the bed and with the tombstone, and then
his sister's tombstone. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Yeah. And then she sees Linda, the boyfriend like Bob pops out of like the closet dead.
And then Annie's like folded up.
Yeah. No, that's Linda, but yeah.
Whatever.
Or maybe it is. I don't know. No, you're right. You're totally right. It doesn't matter. Dead stupid teenagers. And so of course she's freaking out, and Michael suddenly appears, and that's when he starts
Is that the great moment where he's like in the shadow and they have to like get framed?
Yeah, and he's like steps out.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you just see like a hint of his mask, and then all of a sudden he's like boom.
And so he stabs her arm and it causes her to fall down the stairs.
Not just down the stairs, like over the balcony, right?
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Like,
and it was like, okay, fine. The stab grazed her somehow. She broke her neck falling.
Yeah. So she's running across the street to where the kids are sleeping, right? Where she's supposed to be babysitting. And of course she locked the door, which I'm so proud of her for doing, because good for you.
Yeah.
But she lost the keys to the front door, and so she can't get in.
Yeah.
And so she's freaking out, and so she like grabs something
and like throws it at the window.
I think she throws a pumpkin.
I hope it was.
And she throws it at the window to where the sleeping kids are, and she's like, let me in. And the kid's like, okay, like sleepy, like not knowing what's going on. And she gets in just in time.
Because he's like walking, he's doing his classic
stalking walk. Yeah. And so she gets in just in time, and she's like, go upstairs, like go close the door, go hide, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, what's going on? She's like, do what I say!
Do as I say!
So she locks the door and she thinks she's okay, but then she sees that a window was open. And so then
Which I don't really understand.
She just decides to sit on the couch and be like, oh God, instead of like, I would be closing the window, barricading myself, getting a weapon. Like,
but that's
just
one
like,
of the few
oh,
moments
no.
where like him getting into his house, like there's a few moments where I'm like, okay, but how did he do that? I accept that he's magical in some ways, but I'm like, what? But how did he just be like, I'm going to go over to that window and just open it up? Like, forget the door.
Yeah.
And then creep in somehow before she even noticed.
So then, obviously, he's in the house, and he attacks her, and she's, like, in front of, like, a knitting thing. And so she grabs one of these long-ass, like, crochet needles, and she stabs him in the neck.
Yeah.
And so he, like, falls over, and so she's like, okay, like, he's dead. We're good. So she goes upstairs, and she checks on the kids, and she's like, it's okay. Like, it's fine. But then here comes Michael, coming up the stairs. And so, of course, she's like, go hide in the bedroom closet. And she, like, locks them in. She's like, lock the door, go hide in there. While she goes and hides in the other closet. I think they go in the bathroom, maybe.
And we forgot to mention, all the while, there's a subplot where the sheriff and Dr. Loomis have been staking out Michael Myers' house, waiting for him to return because Loomis is convinced he's definitely coming back. And the sheriff's like, dude, like, it's Halloween. Like, I want to go to the key party. Can we wrap this up? But all the while this is happening, yeah, he's chasing after Laurie Strode.
Yeah, and so she's hiding in the closet, and it's a great scene of him breaking down the closet, and like he tries to grab her, and so she stabs him in the eye with a coat hanger, like a wire coat hanger. I was like, man, we gotta bring those back, because I know we got rid of all of our wire hangers, just in case, you never know. And so, yeah, she stabs him in the eye, and in the chest, I think, too. Maybe she grabs the knife and stabs him in the chest, too.
Oh, see, I remember the needle and the hanger and the guns, but I don't remember him getting... It's maybe. Point is, you know, he's gotten, like, a stab through the jugular.
A lot of injuries.
You know, just serious eye damage.
He would just
but
bleed
he's
out.
Just,
he's fine.
He doesn't scream once. He doesn't flinch. He just kind of, I'm going to keep going.
No pain. Okay, so, you know, she thinks that he's dead, right? And so she gets the kids out of the bathroom, and she's like, hey, run down the street, go get the police. Like, I got the boogeyman.
Yeah.
I killed the boogeyman. Like, call the police.
Then this is the second time she thinks she's definitely killed him.
Yeah. And then, of course, he's like, I'm back, bitch.
Nuh-uh.
And she's obviously not surprised, or she was very surprised, I mean. And just in time, Loomis
the kids
see the kids running down the street. And he's like, okay, I'll go in that direction.
Let me deal with my patient with my 6-shooter.
Yeah. And so...
Not a tranquilizer, no other help. I am just going to do, just like he doesn't call the police. He's just like, I got this in my trench coat. I'm going to...
At that point, like, potato.
Yeah.
He's murdered a bunch of people. Like, it's justice. So... they're fighting, Michael and Laurie. He's trying to kill her, and she rips off his mask, which makes him hesitate a moment. I noticed that, and you can see, like, his eyes, like, super puffed.
Yeah, I know there's...
It's only for, like, a split moment you see his actual face.
Yes, and in other, like, makeups, I know that they have had, like, Michael's eye that he's been stabbed is, like, white in other Halloween movies. Yeah, they do indicate, like, that is a sustained wound that he has, which I like.
So Loomis...
Which I was really surprised, though, that they show his mask off, though.
Yeah.
I forgot that I was like, oh, that's kind of takes away the mystique.
Yeah, but it brings back that human element.
I guess. But he's not human.
So Loomis shows up, and he shoots him a bunch of times.
6.
6? It was like 12.
He empties it. No, he empties it. I counted, because I was like, bam, bam, bam.
It knocks him off the balcony, and Laurie does that famous, like, boogeyman? And he's like, yes, boogeyman.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
And, of course, they go to look over the balcony, and he's vanished. And that's where the movie ends. He could be anywhere.
But I did want to, because we didn't watch this before we watched Halloween 2018. Do they explain, do you remember, and we haven't seen it, we saw it 3 years ago. Do they explain then somehow, like, because the great brilliance of it is, like, he escapes, they end the movie, there was no intention for a sequel, and he could still be out there. But then all of a sudden in 2018, they're like, yeah, we caught him, he's been in an asylum since.
I thought they lit him on fire.
No, that's the second movie. No. I'm talking about at the beginning of 2018 Halloween.
I don't remember.
All of a sudden, he's just somehow caught.
It's fine.
That's fine. The only other thing that I have in the notes that I forgot to mention is when Paul mentions ripping off Lindsay's clothes.
Then we rip Lindsay's clothes off. Yeah, I think I got it.
Mm-hmm.
That is terrifying, and I still don't
You mean
understand.
Linda?
No, remember we listened to it.
Oh yeah, yeah. He talks about ripping off
he's like,
Lindsay, the little girl's clothes at one point.
I will
Yes.
include a clip if you doubt me.
Then we rip Lindsay's clothes off. Yeah, I think I got it.
I don't understand why he said it even jokingly. It creeps me out. That may be the scariest part of this movie because there's not a whole lot of gore. Wonderful moments of, Michael appearing. I love a lot of the cinematography.
Yes.
With that, we might as well get into our review. How many stabs would you give this movie?
7?
I would say 7.5.
Well, you always have to top me, don't you?
No, I was literally thinking that before whatever you were going to say. Because I first thought it was an 8. I was like, but I had some issues.
Yeah.
I like this. I think it was a very good movie probably for its time and did a lot for the genre to really kind of get slasher a little bit beyond psycho. But it has a lot of faults for me. Some of the characters, I'm just like, well, you're written so deplorably. Some of the logic of Michael, me as a more logical person, I guess I want that. But Michael. All right. Well, then you want to get into behind the screen. Thank you, Heidi. All right, so fun little fact. So this was obviously done by John Carpenter. He was the writer, the director, and the score composer. And when he originally thought...
He did the music?
Oh, yeah. So remember we were watching The Movies That Made Us?
Uh-huh.
And they were talking about how he was in a band? So, yes, he did the music. So the famous Halloween score is done by John Carpenter. And to this day, he has pretty much stopped doing movies, and he is mostly composing music. I believe, really, he had very little involvement in this newer Halloween series, but I want to say he did music at least for Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills. Probably will also do Halloween Ends. I didn't write that down for a fact, so don't quote me.
Halloween revives.
Halloween.
It'll never end.
Back again.
Baby of Halloween.
Strikes back. So Carpenter said of the basic concept, Halloween Night, has never been the theme in a film, and his idea was to do an old haunted house film. My question to you is, do you think this is a haunted house film? Like, I don't consider this...
Absolutely not.
I don't...
Not at all.
I think there's a house in it.
But the house, you don't even go in it.
Yeah.
Like maybe for a split second, but no.
So then I found a later quote by him that I think explains what he was thinking of.
Okay.
I decided to make a film I would have loved to have seen if I was a kid, full of cheap tricks like a haunted house at a fair where you walk down the corridor and things jump out at you. So I think his concept of a haunted house is like a haunted house that you would walk through, not like a haunted house film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which I think makes a little bit more sense, but I don't consider this a haunted house film. But I can understand where he was coming from there. So this was originally, or co-written, however you want to put this, by Deborah Hill, who was his then girlfriend at the time. My understanding was it was the first draft or the first run-through was written by Hill, and she did a lot of the babysitter dialogue. She's the one who placed it in Haddonfield, Illinois, which was named after where she came from, Haddonfield, New Jersey.
New Jersey.
I believe he is from Kentucky. I don't know why they chose Illinois, but...
Because it's very suburban-y.
I guess. But you know what I mean? It's a weird... I'm not complaining. Do you remember, and this goes back to our Disney days, when people would have name tags with fake? So if you're not familiar, on a Disney employee, and they're called cast members, name tag, it says their first name, and then it says where you're from. Mm-hmm. It says city and state. There would be people around Halloween that somehow would go to costuming and they would request that they were from Haddonfield, Illinois.
That's amazing.
Yes.
No, I didn't know that. I mean, I knew people that had... Someone had Sunnydale, California once, and I was like, that's amazing.
My friend Elise had Shermer, Illinois, which, if you're familiar with John Hughes films, it's a fictitious town in a lot of John Hughes films.
Cool.
So I didn't know, if you had any fun ones.
I didn't break the rules. I was
Yeah.
normal.
Well, sometimes if they were wise enough, like, and you got too ridiculous, but Haddonfield sounded like a real enough town in Illinois that it's like, yeah, that's probably fine.
Yeah.
But anyway.
The craziest I got was I was Chris from Orlando.
Oh, yeah. Everybody was Chris from Orlando at one point. So this takes place on Halloween, and they've said that there is indications that this has a little bit to do with Samhain. If you're not familiar with Samhain, we're probably going to cover it in our next episode, but it's the Celtic celebration that essentially is the origin of Halloween as we know it today. I'm not going to get too into that right now, but what Deborah Hill said in 2002 was the idea was that you couldn't kill evil, and that was how we came about the story. We went back to the old idea of Samhain, that Halloween was the only night where all souls are let out to wreak havoc on the living, and then came up with a story about the most evil kid who ever lived. And when John came up with his fable of a town with a dark secret of someone who had once lived there, and now evil has come back, that's what made Halloween work. And then what I've found is another Samhain connection or kind of maybe a justification. So the novelization was released the following year in October of 1979. It was written by Curtis Richards. And novelizations a lot of times, and I like when they do this, they would include a little bit more than just what the script or what the movie has, because it's a book, so they have to kind of fill some stuff. Mm-hmm. And so they mention a lot of references to the Festival of Samhain. There's actually a prologue that essentially explains Michael's murderous impulses. It's a story of Enda, who's a disfigured Celtic teenager who butchers a druid princess, Deirdre, and her lover as revenge for rejecting him. So the king then subsequently has the shaman curse Enda's soul for walking the earth, reliving his crime for eternity. And there's nightmares that Michael has, and essentially this was a relative in the distant past, and that's why he has these murderous impulses around Halloween.
Okay.
I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe it is then better that he is just this force that kills, but
yeah.
The name Laurie Strode was allegedly the name of an ex-girlfriend of Carpenter.
Oh.
I think is a very weird choice, especially if you're writing
I'm going to
partner.
have you murdered.
No, Laurie Strode.
Oh.
Jamie Lee Curtis's character.
Never mind. I would have chosen it to be one of the people that got murdered.
But still a little weird if your writing partner is your current partner, and you're like,
you should make it my ex-girlfriend's name.
I really want to name this character Laurie Strode, like the Laurie you used to date. No,
I would kill you.
So Donald Pleasance plays Dr. Loomis. You saw him on screen, and you immediately recognized him.
So he's from my favorite childhood movie, Escape from Witch Mountain.
And we put that on.
Which was also filmed in the 70s.
Yeah, and we put that on, and he does not have facial hair.
Yes.
And so I'm most familiar with Donald Pleasance in this movie, and so this was really the first time when you were like, yeah, that's him. And then I immediately was like, oh, that's Blofeld.
Yes.
So
James
apologies
Bond.
if you're a James Bond fanatic and you're like, yeah, duh, of course he's Blofeld. That was my first moment where I was like, oh, he doesn't have
droopy eye.
Doesn't have the facial hair. He's got a little droopy eye. Yeah. We do not eat our kitties.
We do not eat our kitties.
We pet them. Dr. Loomis was named after Sam Loomis in Psycho, who's Marion Crane's boyfriend. Then, even weirder connection to Psycho, you have Marion Crane was played by Janet Leigh, whose daughter, Jamie Lee Curtis, then starred in this.
Yes.
What's weird is Jamie Lee Curtis was not Carpenter's first choice, and she even went on to say that she identified more with the other female roles than she did the starring role. So I'm not really sure why anyone picked her, because it's like, so Jamie Lee didn't want to do this. Carpenter didn't have the first choice. I guess, name and Psycho association got her the job. All right, so just a few more things. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to talk about Carpenter's inspiration for the evil. So believe it or not, when he was in college, he actually visited a psychiatric institution.
Oh, I don't know if can you just visit those?
He was a student.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just willy-nilly driving around.
I'd like to check in, please. I'm not crazy. I just want to see the crazy. So when he was there visiting the ward with his psychology classmates, they went to the, quote, place where the most serious mentally ill patients were held.
Oh, jeez.
And among them was this adolescent boy who had this blank quote, schizophrenic stare.
Oh, Jesus.
And that's where he got this inspiration for 6-year-old Michael Myers. Like, he's just like, you know, where Donald Pleasance does the line about, he's like, he has the blackest eyes and they're evil.
I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes.
Just blank stare.
Yeah, like that was written by Carpenter, and I'm sure very much thinking about this poor young individual, you know, who...
That's so sad.
Yeah, I know we a lot of times say, like, oh, that's crazy, that person's crazy, but, like, I gotta wonder, like, at that time, like, were those people getting the help they need, and, you know, what happened to that poor boy, and I hope he's okay.
I know.
One last thing, because you and I talked about this. We talked about the shape. So where the term the shape came from is it's actually in the script.
Okay.
And at the end credits. So they list Michael at 6, Michael at 23, and the shape, which was technically 3 different actors. And I think that's interesting that they differentiate between Michael Myers at 23 and the shape. And the reason he's called the shape is, like, literally in the script, like, a shape appears, or, like, the shape appears behind the nurse. And so when you're doing a script, the first thing, like, you call that character, a lot of times that's in caps, so that it just started with the shape, you know, appears, and then you continually call that character that. So if he had put, like, Michael appears behind her, but he wanted something more supernatural, which I think is interesting, but I think it's a dumb name.
Yeah, the shape is
like,
it's not very ominous.
Oh no, the shape's coming to get me. Like to me,
will it be a triangle or a square?
Yeah, I think of like weird child like play school toys.
I just think of like a blob.
Just blob.
Which is not threatening by any means.
Well, I mean, don't watch The Blob. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, so now we're gonna move on to
the truth. It's out there.
Much as you try to bury it, the truth is out there.
So, do you want to learn about the Bunny Man now?
I mean, I don't think I have a choice.
You do not.
So yes, can't wait. Lay it on me.
Okay.
Hop on over.
So, this is the story that I was given, okay?
Okay.
The story goes back to February 1949. Douglas Griffin was a resident of Clifton, Virginia in Fairfax County. It's difficult to say for certain what actually happened, but one night, Griffin's wife and 8-month daughter disappeared on a car ride home with him.
Don't like that, considering have that.
Yep.
Personal. Yep.
They spent days looking for the two, and the police eventually found them in a shallow grave.
Don't like that.
Many believe that Douglas Griffin committed the murders, but he continually pleaded innocence. He was deemed unfit to stand trial by reason of insanity and ordered to be transferred to the nearby asylum. Griffin shuffled aboard the bus to take him to the institution. The road was dark and winded through a forest. A torrential downpour suddenly struck, and the driver's limited visibility was made even worse.
So this is all true?
Yes.
Okay.
Between the slick roads and curves, he couldn't maintain control of the bus. It slid into a tree, crumpling the front bumper and killing the driver on impact. Griffin took advantage of the situation and kicked out his window before escaping into the wet black night. When the bus never arrived at the asylum, police were dispatched to find it. A manhunt for Griffin started in the woods. The first 2 days were fruitless until they discovered a small clue. It was a corpse of a rabbit whose hide and flesh had been removed and the rest left hanging from a tree. As days went on, they found more rabbits found in a similar fashion. Though they couldn't be certain, police believed this was how Griffin was surviving in the woods. Despite their efforts, all they could find were the bunnies. The trail seemed cold.
What did the bunnies
do? They were there. The trail seemed cold until October 31st, 1949.
Halloween.
When a group of Clifton teenagers came by Colchester Overpass. This is important. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll have a visual. I think maybe we can like put a picture on like Instagram to get an idea of our Channeling Spirits Instagram, and I'll show you. But picture, if you don't have those in front of you, picture, if you will, a very old underpass.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a dark tunnel. It's got like a railroad above it. It's in the woods, just kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really someplace you would probably want to be, but these kids are hanging out there. They overheard a shuffling of dried leaves in the woods. The pace was slow and deliberate, and out of the darkness, the shape of a man emerged.
Nope.
He was covered in what survivors described as hides of rabbits stitched together. Believing he was some odd trick-or-treater, they mocked him until he put a hatchet in one of their chests.
Oh, shit.
While trying to run, another boy was struck in the back and fell to the ground.
Oh, my God.
The rest of the group escaped and brought the police to the murder scene, certain it was Douglas Griffin. But the police couldn't find any bodies, no blood, no sign of the supposed Bunny Man had ever been there. Some say on Halloween night he still lurks around the spot, looking for more teenagers to slaughter on what is now called Bunny Man Bridge.
I don't like that. I gotta look up a picture for my reference.
Did you believe that? Because that's the urban legend.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought that was all...
No. So you needed to know the urban legend, and now I'll tell you the real story. If I did a good job in convincing you, then I succeeded.
Well, also, it reminded me of this song.
Bunny, 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 you're so funny with your twitching nose.
Bunny, 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 you're so funny from your head to your toes.
Now you know why I thought of that? Because it's like, it's fine and then it's evil. Like, that's literally what I was picturing when you were talking about that. I just wanted you to know.
All right. So the real story.
Okay.
So what's really interesting is this urban legend had been going around for years. And it had gone, it has been heard kind of up the East Coast from like Virginia up to Washington, D.C. and kind of around that area. Okay. And there's some variations on it, as there always are with urban legends.
Of course. Well, it's just telephone.
Yeah. And, some people, like me, I elaborated some details. There's other versions where it's a lot more simplified. There's some where he's not wearing bunny hides, but a bunny costume.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. And so there's, as with any urban legend, there's no right way to tell it, but I think there are convincing ways, and that's why I took some liberties. But the librarian, I believe in the 1990s, heard, I think somebody was trying to check out a book, and they were like, hey, I want to investigate. There were some teenage murders, and there was a guy in a bunny costume, and I want some more information. And he remembered when he was a kid hearing this urban legend, and he went about, or she, I apologize, I don't remember the gender of the person, but they went about trying to figure out where did this come from? And so they pinpointed 2 instances, which I think sound pretty darn convincing on where this Bunny Man urban legend probably came from.
Okay.
So, on October 18th, 1970, it was a quiet Sunday night in Fairfax, Virginia. Robert Bennett was a U.S. Air Force Academy cadet who happened to be visiting his uncle. He and his fiancée had been at a local football game, and shortly before midnight, they parked their car on the 5400 block of Guinea Road. And they sat in the front seat with the motor running, and then they noticed a figure in their rearview mirror.
Nope.
A man walked up, and this is quote from the...
So this is real?
This is real.
Okay.
A man, quote, dressed in a white suit with long bunny ears, ran from the nearby bushes and shouted, "You're on private property, and I have your tag number." He then threw a hatchet through the front right window and then skipped off into the night. Neither were injured, but they still have that hatchet. And again, I'll show a picture of that.
This is a weird version of get off my lawn.
But they weren't on anybody's lawn. They were just parked in a field, it's probably, private, baby. Doing some teenage stuff.
Private property.
And so this man just skipped off into the field. And I love that they wrote that skipped off into the night.
Just hopped away.
Like a bunny. And so police were called. They couldn't find anybody matching that description. They're like, that was weird. So then fast forward to October 29th, 1970. Same year, about 2 weeks later.
Okay.
Paul Phillips is a private security guard who had been hired by a local construction company to monitor several unfinished and unoccupied homes.
Okay.
So at 5307 Guinea Road, so same road, pretty close by, about a block away from the first sighting, he found a man. He described this man as roughly 20 years old, 5'8", maybe about 175 pounds, standing on the front porch of a house that was unfinished. The man was wearing a gray, black, and white bunny costume. When Phillips started talking to him, he just began chopping at the front porch post with a long-handled axe. "All you people trespass around here," the bunny man told him as he whacked 8 gashes into the pole. "If you don't get out of here, I'm going to bust you on the head." So at that, Paul Phillips walked back to his car to get his handgun, and the bunny man ran off with the axe into the woods.
He skipped away.
They didn't say, but I like to think, he just hopped away. So after those 2 reports, more than 50 people were contacting the police claiming they saw the bunny man from October to November 1970.
Do you think some of those were fake?
A lot of them were children.
Oh.
So a lot of them, or some of them may have been crank callers.
Mm-hmm.
There was one where I didn't record it, but somebody on a phone call said you've been depositing logs or something, and they think maybe that was the bunny man. But the police did a stakeout. Bunny man never showed up. These 2 are the actual physical sightings. And what I do think this is the same person. I do think this happened because, one, you have the hatchet.
Mm-hmm.
No 20-something or teenager is going to break their own car with a hatchet just for a fun story.
Unless the girl found out that the boy was cheating and she went batshit
well, then
crazy.
she
'Cause
corroborated.
She had a hatchet in her car because I have a hatchet in my car.
But they were both in the car. And she would have been in the passenger seat with a hatchet anyway.
I know. I'm just having fun.
So you have, a hatchet and an axe. You have both saying there's a bunny man costume, both talking about trespassing. And I don't think this Paul Phillips, who's a hired security guard, he has no vested interest. He's just dude, just get out of here. And all of a sudden, this guy's talking about how he's going to lay an axe in his head. So he's I'm done with this. I'm going to get a gun.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, those are 2 convincing instances that have connective tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like someone who may have mentally maybe been a little incompetent or not quite all there.
And they lived in a cabin in the woods.
They seem to live close by because both instances happen pretty close.
So I think of, so in our neighborhood, we have this random house.
Oh, yeah.
In the woods that there's no road to. We live in a suburban area. It makes no sense. We have an HOA.
There's
behind
2 cul-de-sacs.
These houses is a random house
with fences all
chain link
over.
Fence around it. So there's no way to get to it, and there's no road to lead up to it. And it's a house.
It's in someone's not yard, but there's a lot that seems empty, but this is tucked back.
It's so
you can't
weird.
really tell what it is.
That's where the bunny man lives. That's what I picture. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's just some rando living out this random house in the woods.
So I think that, and I don't want to quite jump to I want to believe, and we'll get there in a second. My only thing that I can't find in both these instances is where the heck the bridge, the overpass comes into play, which is integral to the urban legend. So every Halloween, people visitors from all over will go there because that is part of it.
I feel like that's something you and I would do.
I would. If I was in that area, yeah, I'd definitely go to it. And I've also heard it's kind of like Bloody Mary or Candyman. If you
say Bunny Man 3 times,
exactly,
you get an Easter egg.
Nope,
full of chocolate.
He comes out and gets you in his Bunny Man costume. I think there is something truly terrifying. If you were late at night and someone just in a bunny costume with a
costume or not. The costume obviously adds to it, but
I'm not even talking about a scary Donnie Darko bunny costume. I'm talking about just a
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. So, fun fact, if you Google search Bunny Man and then click on images, it'll lead to an article from Fox News. So,
Oh, no.
But it says Florida man in Easter bunny costume caught in viral brawl.
Bunny Man moved south and just decided to go toe to toe.
But I did find the actual axe.
Yeah, the hatchet is real.
Yeah.
Or,
It says, and the article says, bad guy wore a white hood is the article.
And that's, the Robert Bennett said that it was a bunny ears.
Mm-hmm.
His fiance said it might have been more kind of like a KKK hood.
Which is also not okay.
In the police report. But I don't know.
This is
I don't know I don't know the race of the individuals, but, you know, Virginia in the 70s, definitely possible that might have had a play. But again, I kind of hazard on, like, maybe this was a possibly 20-year-old mentally deficient individual who had a Halloween costume because it was around Halloween. But that's kind of my point is, so you have a couple of close things, and this did happen before Halloween. This is 1970 compared to 8 years later when the movie came out. You have the urban legend of a escaped mentally ill patient going to an asylum. You have, you know, a person who is capable possibly of murder, murdering their family specifically, dressing up in, you know, some sort of weird costume. It's around Halloween, and this person is killing teenagers. So there's a lot of
correlation.
Yeah, there's a lot of shared things. Do I think John Carpenter heard this and said, I want to make this? No. I don't really know the degree of, like, what national headlines this made. This might have been a little bit more local. So I'm not putting out there that this is my theory that John Carpenter heard this urban legend and then therefore I'm saying this is really weird and has some shared instances to Halloween, both interesting and great stories.
Fun fact, though, they did make Bunny Man into a movie in 2014.
Oh, no.
It's called Bunny Man Massacre.
Oh.
And then it got a sequel in 2017.
Bunny Man Ends.
Bunny Man Vengeance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's there's that.
Oh, there it is.
You know, it's no longer a hatchet, it's a chainsaw. So,
gotta upgrade.
Movies I won't be watching.
All right, so I guess I already kind of got into I Want to Believe.
Now I'm a believer.
But Heidi, do you believe in the Bunny Man?
Totally.
What's
like,
your
not like
what's
currently,
what's your take?
I think that there was a person out there. Now, whether they were wearing a bunny costume, I mean, it's totally possible. People they do clown stuff like that. So it wouldn't be out of character necessarily. And back then, especially in the 40s, I can imagine like really weird bunny.
Well, this was
ears.
70.
Oh, 70.
1970.
Sorry. Still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you think of like vintage Disneyland and the characters look super messed up. Like that's what I picture.
Even the William Shatner mask in like Halloween, I know they did a lot of modifications, but I'm sure that thing looked freaky as all get out.
I don't
in
know.
the
Looking
70s.
at it, I'm like, yeah, I can see William Shatner.
Well, yes, of course. But I'm saying just the base mask, I'm sure that was like freaky enough because like there's definitely like something eerie about those older costumes that you're just like, ugh.
Yeah, like this is not okay.
I think that there was somebody in a Bunny Man costume.
Yeah.
I don't quite buy the hood thing. I think they had some weird Halloween costume and they were, you know, not quite all there. Had some weird belief that anybody in this block was on their quote property and trespassing. They didn't like that, but had enough sense to get away before they got themselves shot.
Get away, get away.
But they never
Go away, get away.
They never found the Bunny Man. They just ended up closing the police reports. Pretty much it died. The actual reports died after the 70s, but that urban legend lived on.
All they found was a trail of Easter eggs.
I always thought you were going to say carrots.
Oh, no, I went more Easter bunny.
So Easter, evil, bunny, Halloween.
Zombie Jesus. Amen.
Zombie Jesus. So I'm curious, have you heard of the Bunny Man before? Have you heard a different urban legend? If you have, let us know. If you want us to cover there's a few more urban legends that I think we can cover that, you know, I think fit into this.
Yeah.
There's, you know, the Hook Man, maybe alligators in the sewers. I think this one's it's getting more popularity, but it was a little bit more local and gaining some notoriety, but I liked it.
Yeah.
It's a fun little one. Hopefully it got you in the Halloween spirit. We've got, I think we're going to try and do at least one more episode before our Halloween this year. We're also working on why do witches ride brooms?
Devin, I have a question for you.
Oh.
Speaking of Halloween, what are you going to be for Halloween?
Maybe we'll talk about that next time. I'll leave people with
in suspense.
Yes.
If you have any guesses as to what Devin and I will be for Halloween, please comment.
It is a shared costume.
Yes,
it's a couple.
It's a couple costume. It's pretty super. I don't know.
Anyway, so thanks so much for joining us. Hopefully you're having a wonderful Halloween season, keeping it spooky. I'm Devin.
I'm Heidi.
And we love having you guys.
Bye.
Heidi, are you ready?
Devin, yes I am.
We're gonna talk about Halloween.
And not eat some ham.
All right.
Please include that.
Nope.